Hey everyone, I'm Haroon Haider, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into what is without a doubt one of the most important innovations in all of human history, farming. It's an incredible story of progress, but it's also a story of unintended consequences that are still shaping our world right now.
To really get a feel for how huge this is, let's start with a kind of dramatic thought experiment. Just imagine, what if, tomorrow morning, all agriculture on Earth just vanished?
Well, the reality would be absolutely catastrophic. 9 out of 10 of us would be gone. Why? Because the planet, in its natural state, just can't support our modern population with hunting and gathering alone. It's not even close.
That number you're looking at, 500 million, that's pretty much the hard cap. That's the absolute maximum number of hunter-gatherers the Earth can sustain. That was the wall our ancestors were up against. So the question is, how in the world did they break through it?
Well, they did it by learning how to tame the world around them, by getting control of the very fundamentals, water and land.
This all kicked off about 10,000 years ago, and you have to understand, this wasn't just about a new way to get food. This was a complete redesign of human society and of the planet itself. And here's the thing, there wasn't just one magic solution. In really dry places, like ancient Egypt, they developed these unbelievable hydraulic systems. We're talking canals, dikes, basins to control every drop of water. But then you look at rainier places, like ancient Europe, and they came up with a completely different strategy, fallowing. That's just a fancy word for letting a field rest for a season, letting it recharge its batteries, you know? Two totally different environments, two totally brilliant strategies. So let's zoom in on that Egyptian model, because it was just genius. First, they'd build these huge earthen walls, dikes, to hold back the Nile's massive annual flood. Then, they'd cleverly channel all that water into a network of basins. And here's the magic part. As the floodwaters receded, they left behind this incredibly rich, fertile silt, perfect for planting. They weren't just farming, they were literally engineering an entire ecosystem to feed themselves.
But, and there's always a but, right? All this incredible success came at a price. They solved the food problem, but in doing so, they created a brand new problem: how to organize society.
I mean, seriously, think about it. How do you get millions of people to work together on these huge construction projects that can take generations to complete? You can't just ask nicely.
The answer was a very rigid social pyramid. At the very top, you have the pharaoh, who was seen as a god, the literal owner of all the land and water. Underneath him, you have the managers, the priests, the scribes, who kept the system running. And at the very bottom, holding everything up, was a huge class of peasants who provided all the muscle. These hydraulic systems didn't just support this pyramid, they pretty much demanded it.
And the engine that powered this whole thing was a system called corvée. Basically, it was unpaid, unfree labor that the state could demand from you for public projects. It's how the pyramids got built, for sure, but it's also how every single one of those canals was dug and every dike was maintained.
And don't think for a second this was just an Egyptian thing. Half a world away in the Andes, the Inca Empire had a nearly identical system they called the Mita. The state basically had a claim on all the extra labor of every family. That was the deal. That was the price of civilization.
And the human cost of all this could be immense, especially when these powerful agricultural empires clashed. This quote from the priest Bartolomé de las Casas, writing about the Spanish conquest, man, it's just brutal. He said the conquerors had no more consideration for them than beasts. It's a really stark reminder of the harsh power dynamics built on these agricultural foundations.
Now, those systems, built on tribute and forced labor, dominated the world for thousands of years. But starting about a millennium ago, a series of technological revolutions just shattered the status quo. The pace of change went into overdrive. This was the Great Acceleration.
This timeline really captures those key moments. So around 1000 CE, you get the medieval revolution. The big innovation here was the heavy plow, which was a total game changer. It let farmers finally cultivate the dense, wet soils of Northern Europe. Then, fast forward to the 1700s, and you get the first agricultural revolution. This is where farmers figured out how to get rid of fallowing by integrating crops and livestock, creating this awesome, self-sustaining fertility cycle. And then, bam, the 1950s. The second agricultural revolution hits with tractors, chemical fertilizers, and genetic science. And production just explodes on a scale nobody had ever seen before.
All this success really hammered home this idea that agriculture was the root of everything. The economist François Quesnay nailed it back in 1758 when he wrote, "Land is the unique source of wealth, and it is agriculture which increases that wealth." He was perfectly capturing the spirit of the age.
And here's that recurring pattern again, right? Every single solution creates a brand new problem. The medieval revolution challenged the whole feudal order. The first agricultural revolution led to common lands being fenced off, pushing tons of people into cities. And the second one? It sparked a mass exodus from rural areas that fundamentally changed society. Progress is never a straight line.
Which brings us right to today, and to what we could call the unfinished revolution. Because the wild, unbelievable success of modern farming has created a problem our ancestors literally could not have conceived of. We're too good at it. For the first time in human history, the main problem for many farmers isn't scarcity. It's systemic overproduction, which absolutely crushes the prices for their food.
And this chart, this gets to the heart of the great paradox of our time. On the one hand, we produce more than enough food for every single person on the planet. But on the other, a huge portion of the world is still undernourished. The gap between our potential and our reality, it's just staggering. So, why does hunger still exist? Well, it's not a production problem anymore. Today, famines are a consequence of poverty. They happen because of a lack of resources to fight disasters like droughts, because of deeply unequal land distribution, and because global market forces can wipe out small farmers almost overnight.
Which leaves us with this final, massive question. For 10,000 years, humanity was obsessed with solving the problem of production, and we did it. We absolutely did it. The challenge for our generation is completely different. Can we finally solve the problem of distribution?